Hey, Mr. Vitri.
Hi, yes, I just responded back to Miss Paula. It's the same link.
Okay, there she go.
There we go. You have people coming in now.
All right. Good, good afternoon. I was about to say good morning.
It's been a long day. It's
Oh
we're
my
checking
goodness.
on here.
I have presentations every day.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that's what happens, man. When you do this virtual, man, you never leave out of your office that much.
Hmm.
Get that time mixed up, man. Morning, noon, and night.
Absolutely.
And it's
So
kind
we'll
of
get
dark
started.
outside.
Uh-huh.
That's right.
I see people are joining, so I will give you maybe another 2 minutes so we can allow others to join us. We're right at 3:30 right now.
Hey, Miss Joe. Got Miss Joe in the house.
Thank you all for joining. We'll get started here momentarily. I have a special guest, Ms. Paula Roddy, joining us as our special guest today. So we look forward to hearing a lot from her and learning more about what's happening in the DBE program. I'll go ahead and share my screen here. Hopefully everyone can see my screen. All right, we will go ahead and for the sake of staying on time and ending on time, we'll go ahead and get started. Again, my name is Vitra Wilson and welcome to our last webinar of the year. It's called Restoring Confidence, Setting Milestones, Changing Behaviors, and Increasing DBE Goals. We have the pleasure of having Ms. Paula Roddy joining us. We also have Kenyatta Sparks, who will also add to this conversation. We hope that you all will not only tune in, but also drop us any questions you may have, any comments. We would love to answer them as we go through the presentation this evening. So I'll start by just reading a brief bio of Ms. Paula here. Paula Roddy is a native of Baton Rouge and a resident of Zachary. She is a graduate of LSU Baton Rouge, like myself, with a bachelor's degree in history and secondary mathematics. She was magna cum laude graduate of Southern University, Baton Rouge, with a master's of public administration, finance concentration. She is the director of compliance programs for the Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development. In this capacity, she is responsible for oversight of the disadvantaged business enterprise small business element. That's why we're here today. So we're really excited to have her. And she also is over contract administration, labor compliance, contract compliance, ADA title, and more. And one of the things that was interesting that I also learned is that she also oversees on-the-job training, so the OJT program as well. She has served in various capacities for the Louisiana Department of Social Services, the Louisiana Department of Education, the Department of Health and Hospitals, the Department of Labor, the Louisiana Legislature, and the Division of Administration. So she brings with her a wealth of knowledge across various different departments, but we're happy to have her here today to discuss more about the DBE. programs. And we'll also bring in Kenyatta a little bit later to talk about supportive services to really tie everything back together. Welcome, Ms. Paula. How are you this evening? Oh, let me unmute you. Make sure you're unmuted here. There we go.
Okay. All right, well, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much, Savitra. Every time I listen to my bio, I think, gosh, it's time for me probably to retire. I've been around the block a few times, but I'm so happy to be on this final webinar of the year. I think this is a great way to end this. I have some very exciting news about what's going on with our DBE program and some strides that we have made thus far. And so as you look at the topics of discussion that Savitra has up here, we're going to give an update on our program, how it's grown, and the various outreach efforts, and then we'll turn it over to Kenyatta.
Yes, so I will stop sharing and let you share here, Ms. Paula, if that works for you.
That's fine.
All right.
So let me get mine up. Make sure.
Take your time.
All right, sharing that. Okay. All right, are we in business? Can everyone see that?
Yes, we can see it. Thank you.
Great. All right, so just some updates on our DBE SBE program. I took over this position approximately 18 months ago, and I've learned a lot in a year's time. I'm not where I want to be, but my goodness, I'm so much better than I was. One of the things that I definitely wanted to focus on when I first got here was continuous growth of the program. If you look at this slide here, we have been increasing steadily the number of certified DBEs that we've added to the Unified Certification Program. And but for 2020 and COVID, we have a little bit of a decrease here, but it's really not that bad compared to some of the restrictions and things that we had in setbacks when we had the initial lockdown earlier this year. But the growth of the program has been very, very strong. And I credit that to my great staff. I'm fully staffed up, and I have some very hardworking folks who make sure that the DBEs that are coming on board are certified in a timely fashion, and it has really helped our process tremendously. So one of the things I want to talk about for the last 18 months, I've really focused on our outreach efforts to grow the program, as I stated earlier. We wanted to ensure our DBEs are treated properly and fairly, and we worked diligently to attain the department's DBE goal of at least 15% participation in our highway construction projects. So just a little history of the DBE program. The main goal is to get small and disadvantaged businesses certified. We want to increase their participation in highway construction projects and also multimodal projects that deal with the aviation industry. And we have another type of consultant contract. It's called the IDIQ, and that stands for indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity. And we also have some design build projects. Those are the much larger projects that are coming online. We're looking also to update. We have a transition plan for ADA, and that plan was developed approximately 10 years ago. It's a survey of all of the highways and roads in Louisiana and their deficiencies for ADA. We have a new program specialist, and her primary task has been to start to get this particular transition plan updated, because 10 years it has not been updated in 10 years. And so as we've been learning that process, one of the things that she pointed out to me, she asked was, did this particular plan have to have a DBE goal? And I said, absolutely, it has to have a DBE goal. And I assured her that our contract administration staff would work very closely with her to make sure we had very fair and reasonable goals on this transition plan, because this is going to be quite an undertaking. If you think about all the roads and highways and sidewalks that we have in Louisiana, and the plan needs to be updated. So a lot of the things on the plan are very old, and it's probably a lot of new things that we need to add to the plan. to bring it up to date. So just be looking for that to come down the pipe. Also, with our aviation section, we're looking to establish more DBE goals on their aviation projects. They don't have a lot of aviation projects that they get grant funded for, but when they do, the DBE program manager and I really want to learn about that particular area. We've made some very good connections with the program specialists in aviation to help us understand exactly how we need to set those goals for that particular program. All right, so another thing that we've been looking at is continuous outreach efforts. With the assistance of our DBE supported services consultants, we have SJB in Region A and Urban League in Region B. Our certifications have increased very good. They have helped us make our application process so much more complete. When our supported services consultants work with DBEs, what we found is when those applications come in, they're very complete, and that helps our certification specialist because that's much less legwork that he has to do because the applications are so complete, and that also helps with us getting them processed very timely. Also, for our outreach efforts, just like we're on this webinar today, our consultant teams have provided numerous numbers of webinars and Zoom meetings that I've been a part of. I might not have had a part as far as presentations, but I definitely try to listen to every single one and participate the way I can or answer questions that I see come up because this has been such a help because we can't go out right now. We're very limited, of course, with COVID, with our travel. And they've also helped with the business development plans for the firms that we've given them funding for, and also the one-on-one counseling that they've assisted with. We had a request about a month ago of just some of the things that we have done since COVID. And I reached out to both of our consultants, and within an hour, they had responded back to me. And I mean, I had a laundry list of things that I needed, but they were so responsive. And I was so appreciative of that. And that helped us get that information to the secretary, and also that went to the governor's office. Now on this slide, you can see these are some of the partnerships that we have developed, relationships with these entities, and we assist them whenever they have webinars or business meetings or what have you. Again, everything is designed to help the small business person get a foothold. There are a lot of opportunities available, and there are a lot of things, a lot of funding and what have you. I was at a presentation a few months ago, and one of the gentlemen presenting made the statement that there are a lot of businesses, unfortunately, that think they're in business, but they're actually not in business because they're not taking care of the duties and things, responsibilities associated with being in business. And he stressed how we need to help them get their business development plans, be registered with the Secretary of State's office, how to fill out their tax returns and things like that. And the reason why they stressed that was because when we have these situations that occur and you need government assistance, you have to be able to prove and show that you are in business. So if you don't have those necessary documents or things you put in place already, you're not technically in business. So I brought that back to our consultants for them to impress upon businesses that they work with to make sure that you are actually in business. Now, this is the one that's very near and dear to my heart: fair and equitable treatment for our DBEs. Even though I've been here only 18 months, I have heard several stories from different DBEs about how they're not always treated, and in their opinion, fairly or equitably. So we looked at our DBE program plan, and I put some things in place to try to strengthen that, to help in those efforts to make sure our DBEs are treated fairly when it comes to highway construction projects. One of the things that we put into place, and before that I'll talk about our goal, but one of the things we put into place as it relates to our DBE program plan, there was some questions about prompt payment complaints. If a DBE had a question or it had a complaint that they had not been paid correctly from the prime. So what we did, we went into our program plan and we looked at the language. And so we changed the language. We got with our legal section and we strengthened that language. So now if there is any type of prompt payment complaint, or if we notice something when we're doing our paperwork, we can now require from the prime contractor a copy of the invoice that came from the subcontractor, the DBE. We can also require canceled checks as well as our bank, something from their bank, official letter from their bank if there's a electronic funds transfer that will show what was paid to that DBE as opposed to what was invoiced. Also compare that with what was put into our database to make sure these DBEs are paid promptly. The primes are paid according to the work items they turn in and their estimates. And it is in our program plan that they must pay their DBE within 30 days. So if they have not, then that's when we'll step in, and we have stepped in, and we'll stop future estimate payments to those prime contractors until that prompt payment complaint is resolved. So that's something new that's in our program plan. Before we didn't have that. We didn't have the capability of requesting that information from the primes, and now we do. So I talked about our DBE goal. The department now has a new DBE goal. It increased from the last 3 years, it was 13.09%. It has increased now to 15%. And what that means is of all the contracts that are completed for a given fiscal year, and we're on the federal fiscal year, which goes from October 1st through September 30th, we have to, or we are, the goal is to attain a certain level of dollars going to DBEs. So for Louisiana, our goal for the next 3 years is 15%. So of all the contracts that are completed, 15% of those dollars should be going to DBEs. And we take the measurement twice a year. The first measurement comes in June, and we look to see how have we done between October and March 30th. And then the second half is April 1st through September 30th. Well, for the first half of the federal fiscal year compared with 2019, our percentage increased by 1.9%. When we looked at the second half and we ran all of our numbers, we increased 4.4%. So for the entire year, we had an increase of 6.3. If you are a numbers person or you know anything about statistics, anything 5% above or 5% below is statistically significant. So for us to raise our percentage in the amount of dollars that have gone to DBEs in one fiscal year, 6.3% is quite a feat because it takes a lot of dollars to move a percentage point, just 1%. If you look at the Southern Regional average, Louisiana at 15%, our goal is higher than the Southern Regional average, and it's only second to Missouri. So, and that's because it's also based on the number of DBEs. And I found this a little interesting because I would have thought we'd had more DBEs and ethnic representation in Texas, but it looks like Louisiana is outpacing Texas as far as our DBE percentage is concerned. Now, in this next chart, I'm showing you exactly looking at the number of contracts that were awarded. So if you look at this fiscal year 20, the amount of contracts we were awarded, the amount of contracts decreased just a little bit, but again, you have to take into consideration COVID. But even though we had a decrease in the number of contracts, if you'll look from 2019 to 2020, the percent that went to DBEs increased. So we did much better with even though our pie was smaller, a greater percentage of the pie went to DBEs. And these are the contracts that were completed. So this is what we look at when we're doing our DBE uniform report. So if you will see the number of contracts that completed, and I would just say, even though COVID is horrible, because so many people were staying at home, we were able to complete more highway contracts because there was less traffic. And so highway construction did not stop at all. In fact, there was a significant uptick. And if you can look and chart this, I did this based on the first and second half of each fiscal year. The first half of this fiscal year and the second half, we just went straight up with the number of contracts completed because, again, so many people were quarantining, but the highway construction guys were still out there. And so that helped us get more money to our DBEs. And this last chart just shows you, so from 20, if you look at the last two rows, 2018-19, for the first half of the fiscal year, we were at 8.8%. And compare that with this past fiscal year, 19-20, we went up to 10.7. And then for the second half of 18-19, we were at 10.3, and that's where we ended at. But our goal was just 13%. And now for this fiscal year, we increased it to 14.7, but they moved the goal line on me. So had they not moved the goal line, we would have exceeded our goal. But you know, it is a goal. So the better we do, of course, this number, if you know, again, statistics, it's going to increase. And I really think even though we didn't quite get to the 15%, we only missed it by 0.3%, which is so close. I mean, it's right there. And I have gone back, I have this huge spreadsheet that I'm analyzing, and I'm trying to figure out where is that 0.3%. And I do have an idea what the problem is, but I need to look at every single contract and every number line by line. And while someone might think, okay, this woman must not really have a life and she's crazy, I love numbers, and I've always loved numbers. In fact, in the first life, I was a high school math teacher. So this is a challenge for me. But what this tells us is that 14.7% of the money that was completed in people's pockets went to DBEs. And that is significant. If you look at our history here, we were doing pretty good in 14-15. It slacked off in 15-16. It grew a little bit and it kind of stalled. And now we're back on the upswing. So I just credit this to my staff. And, you know, we put together a lot of milestone reports where we're checking it every other day. I have literally, you know, Post-it notes, check this, check that. But you have to stay on top of this. And if you don't, that's when it starts to fall off and dip. And again, I credit my staff and also other staff here within the department that have been working with us as well. And I take this very seriously. And last little thing about my contact information, also my program manager that is working with me. I just want to end with, I have a personal story that as far as DBE is concerned, and I'm very passionate about this program. My dad started a small business in 1968. And his real full-time job, he was a high school driver's ed teacher and a coach back when driver's ed was still in school. So that's been a long time ago. But he started this, he was a highway mail contractor. And I remember he started out with this third-rate putt-putt van that he would drive his mail truck early in the morning, and then he'd go to his regular job during the day. He came back in the evening and he did his evening mail run. And he did that for a number of years. And eventually he grew that until, he no longer had the little putt-putt van. He grew to 10 full-size trucks and 2 standby vans and 10 routes and drivers. And then he was in the driver's seat. So he had people working for him. And he branched out into real estate and also investments. So I often say, you know, my dad was a DBE and he didn't have supportive services to help him. And I often wonder if he had had a SJB or Urban League there helping him, I would probably be a millionaires now. But he did very well on his own, and he left that for us. And so we still kind of have a hand in it and are, you know, reaping the benefits from it. But that's why I'm so passionate about this. I feel like I got to do this for my dad and all other DBEs who are like my dad, struggling, but just trying to get a slice of this pie. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you. So I would love to, before we move on to Kenyatta, there are a few questions that I think may be more relevant to ask Ms. Paula now before we jump into Kenyatta's part of the presentation. The first question for you was, how do we find out more on the transition plan and get updates on that progress?
Okay, if you will call my office, if you just give them my contact information at the end, that last slide, I can put them in touch with the program specialist for ADA, and she can probably get them a copy of the plan. In fact, the plan is on our website, but it's an old plan. I mean, it was back in 2010, so it's a little
10
dated.
years. Okay, great. We'll make sure we add that to our follow-up email along with this video. Another question was around aviation grants. And that question was, where do you find out about aviation grants when they become available?
Again, call my office. We have an aviation section, and I can put the person in touch with the program specialist that I work with.
Sounds great. One question that we also had on here was essentially, and I'll kind of like paraphrase this, but what they're trying to figure out is there anything being done even if there are cases of this where you have firms that may be led by white males who have like circumvented the process of DBE to become a DBE? Do you find that that is an issue or not really an issue? Someone asked a question particularly around that, but I could tell that that's what they were alluding to. Like, how does DOTD, other programs who have DBE programs, ensure that there is equitable practices around who becomes DBE, and is there any checks and balances? I became a DBE, and I remember the process being pretty thorough, but do you find that there are elements where people may slip through the cracks?
I can only speak to the last 18 months that I've been here, but I have seen several questionable firms try to come through, and our program specialist, literally the 49 CFR Part 26 is his Bible. We have double screens, and he has the regs on one screen, and he's going line by line, looking at everything. How was the firms established? Who are the partners? Does the primary partner have knowledge of the firm, control the everyday operations? How was the financing done? So if it seems like it's very intense, if you are not an obvious Black male, Black female, and even if you are, we are still looking very closely at every single thing. And we ask the questions, and I've sat in on many of the site visits. We ask very detailed probing questions because you have to show that you have ownership and control of that company. If you have a full-time job, you can't have two full-time jobs. That's just not mathematically possible. Yeah. So I can just speak for the last 18 months, rigorous scrutiny. It just, you cannot bring it to Ms. Roddy. I go all the way, the first time somebody says something, I said, what is the reg that goes with that?
Yes, and I've seen this, they were specifically speaking to Native American, right? And so they were saying that individuals trying to obtain DB certification underneath the grounds that they are Native American. And I think this is actually something that's being also dealt with on the federal level when we see a lot of the contracts that have also been received in the name of like Native Americans. And so I do think that this is something that has been a loophole that people have found that offices across the entire country are definitely trying to deal with.
Let me speak to Native Americans. Last year, and Kenyatta is aware of this too. Yeah. Last year, we had a public records request about our firms that were certified as Native American, and had we reviewed them, there was an article that came out that really spoke to that about how people were saying they were Native Americans and they actually weren't, or they were part of bogus tribes. So what we did, we changed there was a memorandum that came out from FHWA that spoke to that. And we had to inventory every DBE that we had that Native American status, which we did. We sent out letters that let them know, hey, we just be on the lookout. We're going to be reviewing your files. We had to get our program plan changed to match the new definition, and we had to put some requirements in there. and the requirements that our UCP came up with that we put in our plan that has been approved by FHWA. Number one, you have to either show that you have a tribal card, send us a copy front and back of your tribal card, or number two, you have to complete a notarized affidavit where at the top of the affidavit, you attest that you are a member of a certain tribe. And then at the bottom of it, your tribal leader attests that you are a member of this tribe, and it has to be notarized, original copy sent back to us. The second thing, we're going to look at those tribes to see, are you federally recognized or are you recognized by the state of Louisiana? Let's say you're from Oklahoma, and you're in a tribe that's not recognized by the federal government, but it's recognized by Oklahoma. If Louisiana does not recognize that tribe as well, then you're going to be decertified. Now, the um, the caveat there is, let's say that we find that you are a member of a tribe or you don't show us membership and we decertify you. There could possibly be a way that you could be certified in another category. Let's say if you were Hispanic, well, then you have to, but you have to go through the certification process again. And we are right on top of that. I sent out letters back in October and I gave the deadline of December 1st or 2nd. And at first we didn't get anything, but on December 2nd, I got a flurry of mail. And it's looking pretty good. We were kind of worried that we were going to have to kind of push some folks off, but it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. But I have to give it to the people who are members of these tribes that are actual tribes. They have stepped up and provided the information. And so going forward, if you want to be certified and you say you're a Native American, tribal card or the affidavit.
Absolutely.
So if I'm understanding correctly, I apologize, Ms. Savitra.
No, go ahead.
If I'm understanding correctly, y'all have gone back also to correct the ones who have maybe been certified before you took over your position.
Correct. We had 35 Native American firms on our UCP, and all 35 got all the same information. And maybe we're at 15 or 16 who've turned in information, and the rest, I'm giving people leeway. You know, I've had some to reach out and say, okay, wait a minute, I got to, get with my tribal people. Can I have an extension or what have you? So I'm not gonna be the Grinch. We're gonna wait till January, and then that's gonna be it.
Yeah, I mean, even the diligence that you just broke down for everyone on this webinar, I think you just informed a lot of people who were like, okay, is there anything being done? And most people thinking there's nothing being done. And you just literally laid step by step a course and diligence that your office takes. So that's phenomenal. I love to hear that. I know others did as well. One other question before I move on to you, Kenyatta, how can a DBE get information on the P3 firms that have submitted LOIs to Louisiana Department of Transportation? They have interest in contacting them in order to join their team. Kenyatta, you may also be able to answer this as well, but Ms. Paula, I'll go with you first if you would like to make some comments there.
The only P3 team that I'm aware of was a project it wasn't the Mississippi River Bridge project, but it was another project that was going to connect 415 to right past the LSU Lakes exit. That's the only one that I'm aware of. And again, call my office. I can tell you the procurement manager that we worked on, because part of that project we had to do a goal on it, and it was a large project. And I kept on pushing. You have to break this up for me, because it's kind of going to be mission impossible to put one humongous goal. And so we were effective in getting it broken down into a couple of different sections. So, but yeah, contact my office and I can put you in touch with the manager's name that's over that.
Great, thank you. So Kenyatta, you are up. I'm going to share your slide here. Those of you who have joined our previous webinars, Kenyatta Sparks is a program assistant for SJB which leads to DBE Supportive Services for Region A. He is going to come up now and really talk about a lot of the support services that we've been talking about over the past several months, but really want to reiterate how we complement what Ms. Paula is doing and her team's efforts, and how we can continuously help DBEs not only access contract opportunities, but also ensure that you're prepared with the critical information and collateral materials you need to be successful. Kenyatta?
So let me say this also, Ms. Avitra, if time permits, will we be, if they have any other questions come in, will we be able to address those questions as well?
Yes, we will.
Okay. So just to kind of go and lead what Ms. Avitra was saying, obviously, we're gracious that Ms. Paula was able to attend to give that synopsis, that year-end synopsis of what's going on with the program right now. When you see those type of that type of growth, it not only comes by way of what they're able to do labor-wise, but it also means that they're properly prepared back office-wise, and that's where we come into play. As far as in the technical support that we provide. Obviously, everything that we do is to assist DOTD, Ms. Paul and her staff in facilitating the DBE program by way of supportive services. Here shown on the screen right now is just a small description of what we do to help in those targeted areas. Where what I do share with a lot of firms is, just because you see this on the screen, or if you reach out to us and we have our own one-on-one phone conferences, or if we have any type of webinar trainings, don't just hold us to that. We help in a plethora of areas. We have those partnerships that Miss Paula was sharing with you all. Obviously, we spend a lot of dialogue with them in preparing, whether there's a host, a training, a webinar that we're hosting, or something that we're as a panelist with them. And those agencies are, such as Small Business Administration with Ms. Joanne Lawrence and her team. We also have the Louisiana Small Business Development Center at Southern University, Ms. Ada Womack and her team. You have LED with Mr. Darrell Johnson and Stephanie Hartman and their team that's located there, as well as PTAC. We deal with Ms. Cindy Carrier and her staff, and I have a lot of one-on-one discussions with Ms. Joyce James, who is really one of the consultants for our region. So the reason why I wanted to share that with you, because in addition to what you see on the screen, as far as us helping in the marketing and helping as a liaisons once again between DB contractors and the prime contractors, keeping you informed of all projects. These things here, in addition to that, these other agencies are able to complement in areas that we may not can go as in depth with, because when you're dealing with a federal program, obviously there are some regulations that we have to stay within. So to fill in those areas, we complement one another. So there's a ton of areas that we can dive into that these other resource agencies cannot, as well as they complement us in those areas also. So just for me to go back to what we do here. So as far as marketing, we have that at the top of the list, because we find that that's one of the major concern areas that a lot of the small businesses either don't know how to do, or they just don't have the funding. Because the great thing about us having a contract with DOTD, all of our services are free. It doesn't cost you anything other than your time. Time is valuable, so that's why we respect your time, and we make sure we address your concerns in an expedited manner, because we know as fast as we can get you address these areas, the faster you can grow your business and to reach that level of success and sustainability that you've always desired to do. So we'll start from scratch. We do business cards, capability statements, marketing trifolds. A lot of times we find that the small business's confidence is raised whenever they go to events where they can network with other prime contractors or other small businesses when they have something to leave behind. Some of them are intimidated when they can't go in with a business card, or they don't have a capability statement, or they don't have a functioning website. We help in those areas to help them market the great service that they can buy from a labor aspect. working as a liaisons between the contractors and the prime contractor. I mean, currently right now, I'm assisting firms with reaching out to the prime contractors that they have challenges with, scheduling one-on-one meetings, because obviously due to COVID, we don't get a lot of face-to-face time. So, I'll schedule a virtual meeting with them, and then obviously I let them take it from there. So I will call on their behalf to schedule those meetings, because we tend to get, a little bit better, quicker response, because they know our relationship with DOTD, and obviously they want to stay in good graces with them, so they tend to respond to us a little bit quicker. As far as the projects, the DOTD lettings, obviously because our contract is with DOTD, the majority of the projects that we send out will pertain to roads, bridge, and highway construction. However, we have developed partner relationships with other agencies outside of that scope of work, because we also understand that we provide supportive services to firms who are not within that arena. We started tasking ourselves a few years ago to develop a database of agencies that send us project information, and I'll also stay proactive in checking, LePac, going to, obviously locally here, Move EBR. But I kind of check all of the sites so I can keep you all abreast, because we're anticipating that you're going to be on project sites. So if I can keep the emails and keep you informed of what's being advertised when you do get back to your office, because we understand you're a small business. You may not have anyone that you can hire to have on staff to do what most of these big companies do, and have someone look for this information or locate the projects that's available in their local marketplace. So we want to keep that in front of you. We have a specialist that we have on our team also. And once we finish with this slide, I'll share with you who our team is, but that can help in the areas of material takeoffs, bid preparations, and estimating. We host the estimating and bidding workshop that really dives off into the AGC estimating and bidding manual. He's a professional engineer here on our staff at SJB Group. He does a phenomenal job of breaking it down to where whenever we are assisting you one-on-one, you pretty much understand the terminology and everything that goes along with it. And we've gotten some great results from firms that he's assisted with the questions and concerns to help them put together a quality bid. We also help with the project and scheduling and planning, because one of the things that we recognize is a lot of times the smaller firms are so conscious of providing great service on the current projects that they're working. However, they're not conscious on what's going to happen when that project finishes. And then you'll have months go by before they start another project. So all of the revenue that they gain from that project is exhausted, because their overhead still is they still have bills, they still have, other areas that they have payments on. So we want to teach them how to properly plan to keep everything working simultaneously. And then we also help with the computer operations. We have a IT specialist here. I told him, man, he might want to get me a shirt that says job security on the back of it, because I keep him busy as far as in him helping me with some of the things that I need here just locally, so I can stay, effective for you all whenever there's something that you need assistance with. But however, he can help in areas of troubleshooting problems, internet access, software installation, and so forth. And then we also, as far as assisting in the financial areas, we do our best to vet any financial institutions that reach out to us, because a lot of them know that we provide assistance to the DBE firms. And then once we vet them, then obviously we're going to speak to Ms. Paula Roddy and her staff, because we know that there are, quote unquote, firms out there that take advantage of small businesses. And we don't want to lead you all in the wrong direction. We also piggyback off of the efforts of SBA and also LED and LSBDC and even PTAC, because they have other financial institutions that they've developed strong business ties with also that can assist in those efforts. So we just want to be extremely protective of the firms, because we know obviously you all put your trust in us. So we want to make sure whoever we do recommend are someone that is not going to take advantage of you. Just like Ms. Paula, she takes a lot of pride And you know, she just shared with you all a small history of why she does, and that's just a piece of it. Obviously, you can tell based off of the staff that she has in place, they're doing their due diligence to hold the prime contractors accountable. So we want to do our due diligence to make sure that you're properly prepared for all aspects. Just like she mentioned to you all, even with this unprecedented times of COVID, I think a lot of the firms are starting to see the sense of urgency that we've been attempting over the years to put in place as far as making sure that your back office structure is solid. There was a lot of missed opportunities only because of not being properly prepared. So we want to focus on those things, which is the reason why, you know, obviously we're excited about having this opportunity to have an end of the year webinar, but we also are going to want you all to give us some feedback on, you know, what you would like for us to focus on going into the to the new year. Obviously, I'll let Ms. Avitri dive off into that a little bit more. You can change the slide for me now, Ms. Avitri. So to assist us in those, this is our team right here. Obviously, you heard Ms. Paula mention earlier, this is the first year that they've had two consultants for DB supportive services. Our region is Baton Rouge, Lake Charles, Alexandria, Lafayette, Shreveport, and Monroe. If you are in attendance today and you live outside of this region, you can still feel free to contact me, and I will get you in contact with the appropriate individuals with Urban League of Louisiana. That's the DB consultancy for the New Orleans and Hammond region. And once again, I'll get you in contact with them. But as far as on our team, you have Ms. Jackie DeBoyd, who's our program manager. She's also our president here at SJB Group. You have Ms. Grace Chapman, has well over 30 years of experience of working with DOTD. So that's why we're fortunate to have her on our team by way of communication specialist, because she worked in, as far as in the compliance office, dealing with Title VI. And excuse me one second. Y'all ain't gonna be able to see me if that light go out.
You're being really still.
Yeah. So so she gives a plethora of information. She does a lot of one-on-ones right now with our newly certified firms to get them off to a fast start. And we've been conducting some one-on-one webinars because of COVID, it's prevented us from being able to get up North Louisiana in person. We know that there's some needed assistance in that area. So what we've been doing more recently is doing some one-on-one webinars with those firms, so we can find out what they need immediate assistance in. And Ms. Grace has been doing a great job of handling that for us and scheduling for us and providing great information. Daryl Ivy is the specialist that I was mentioning to you all, who we have on staff as our that assists the DB firms in any areas that they need when it comes to estimating and bidding, planning and scheduling. He actually is he works directly hand in hand with DOTD also in those capacities as for in CPM. So he's very, very knowledgeable. A lot of times he's going to answer your question before you even ask it, because he knows what's coming next based off of what you just asked him. He just has a ton of information in there. We actually are going to be in the process of having a planning and scheduling webinar. We anticipate having it in January because we've already done estimating and bidding. We're going to follow up with one-on-ones with the estimating and bidding, but we want to have a mass planning and scheduling webinar. So just be on the lookout for that coming in the new year. Obviously, we have Ms. Avitra Wilson, been doing a great job of doing all of our trainings. Our training webinar, she's had some really, really outstanding guest speakers on that's really targeted a lot of areas that we're going to be able to dive off into a little bit more in depth. Hopefully, I'm gonna put this out there now, I might get in trouble. We can have them come back on again because I mean, the results, the feedback that we have gotten from those webinars has been great. So we're excited about the direction, the plan, and everything that we've put into place going through this year and what we have coming up in the next year. And then we have Ms. Megan Montgomery, that's our marketing specialist with Little Dog Marketing. So everything that I was speaking to you about with the business cards, the website development, capability statements, she is our experts that handle that. So as you can tell, what I say all the time, we have a dream team of individuals, man, that we work very well together. And our ultimate goal is to make sure that you all win in all aspects, not just in what you do out there on the projects, but also confident in what you can do in the back office. So I just want to, continue to encourage you all to lean on us. We're going to walk with you every step of the way, no matter what level of success that you are. Just, obviously just reach out to us for any type of assistance that you need. And we're going to do our best to address that in a timely and in an efficient manner. So that's what I have to share right now, Ms. Savitri. Obviously, we can go into some more questions.
Yes. So one question that I have here is, do you also offer reviewing existing marketing materials? So
Yes.
will you review existing marketing materials?
Yeah, so like I said, we'll take everything from scratch, but anything you currently have that's like you say, existing, we do look at that. Any recommended revisions, we will do that for you so you can visually see it. And if you do agree with those revisions, then what we typically do is if it's business cards or capability statements, we'll print out anywhere from 50 to 100 or so for you. And we'll also send you a flash drive with the updated files, because at that point, then you can take it to any printing service you choose to. But then you'll always have us available to make any future revisions as well. So once again, we can start from scratch, or we can start with whatever you have. And I apologize. We'll be happy to show you some examples. Whoever that is that asked, we'll to show you some examples of what we've done as far as revisions, but also what we've done just by starting from scratch. And we also help with the aspects of the website as well, taking a look at that. Because the worst thing you want to have is invite somebody to go to your website and it's under construction. Our whole goal is to get the perception away from disadvantaged business enterprise. That's an attractive tool to have when you see these projects that have federal funding assistance. That's what it's there for, but also the upfront tangible is the free assistance that we can provide on a daily basis. But we don't want you being boxed in as a DBE. We don't want you walking into any environment and you got the neon light on saying I'm a DBE. No, that's not how we want you to market yourself. We want to have that available. So just so happen if you're chasing after something that has a DBE gold component on it, you don't have to hear these famous words, oh, I would have used you had you been certified. We want to remove that. We're going to make it extremely hard for them not to use you.
Absolutely. Another question is that I have here, how do you engage in bid prep or review before a bid is submitted for consideration? So can you bid prep or review before it's submitted?
Yeah, so now because we're under contract and with federal regulation, we cannot actually do the bid for them. However, we can address any questions they have and to make sure that they're meeting everything that they may have not taken into consideration. My best way of doing it that I recommend is that if you send me your questions via email, I can directly forward that to Daryl. And then we can start the line of communication that way. Because if you ask me to try and relay it verbally, then I may, if I don't understand that market that you're in, I may not explain it the way that you are asking it. So it's best to email it to me. I'll forward that to Daryl, and then he does when he takes it from there, y'all just be ready. We have a firm, man, that he never ceases to amaze me on what he's capable of doing. They had a firm that actually reached out to us that was going after a project with the city of Baton Rouge. And they didn't have the information available within the contract. So he was able to take the Google map and help them understand how to take those visuals and map it out to get to the measurements that they needed. But he did the diagram and everything for them. When I tell you, and they walked away and it was, they was extremely satisfied. He went above and beyond. So that's what we can help at, to help fill those areas. But that's another reason why we highly encourage the firms to attend all of our webinars, even if it's something that you've attended before. I guarantee you, if you attend one of Daryl's, he's going to say something that you had never heard before. But it also assists us when we do the one-on-ones, because now you understand his way of approaching it to where it makes sense to you when he's assisting you on the one-on-one basis.
Absolutely. And this one is actually from Ms. Paula, but someone's kind of going back to the issue that was brought up with individuals applying underneath a Native American certification to become DBE certified, rather. How does the DOTD address concerns with engineering firms who were initially owned by a white male engineer? The wife, not an engineer, now becomes the owner and qualifies as a DBE. I always feel like this is like a reoccurring question that people are always just concerned with in general. Ever since I've been a DBE, I've been hearing this question circulate and recirculate and recirculate. How do you address this question?
So again, I'm going to speak to just the past 18 months.
Yes.
We've had several firms to come and we scrutinized them, and I will just share, we have not certified them, and a couple of them have applied to appeal to USDOT. So so far it's been upheld by USDOT. So it hasn't. They have not overturned our ruling. Um, we also have seen some Native Americans changing ownership when they couldn't show that they were Native American. Then the female bought them out, but again, it was that control situation. Um, what we will do, if you have every year, once you become certified, every year you have to do what's called an annual no change affidavit. So if ownership has changed or something has changed, we're going to scrutinize that. There's a reg that speaks to, when you change, what was the reason for you changing ownership for your company? You can't just change ownership. You have to let us know, and we review that. And I understand that it's a concern, and I do understand that it's also a concern at the national level, because sometimes, unfortunately, people will look at trying to find little loopholes.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I'm only speaking for the last 18 months, because everything that goes through certification, before someone is certified, it has to come to my desk.
Absolutely.
It has to come to my desk. We have a UCP, we have a committee that meets, it has to come to my desk, and I scrutinize it and ask many questions. If anybody has been around me, they know I ask a lot of questions, because I have to understand and know everything. That's the teacher in me. I have to understand, and I have to be able to back it up. So if something comes down the pipe, if there's some type of audit, and I was an auditor one time too. I didn't put that on my resume, but I was an auditor too. I'm looking at it from auditor eyes, and I want it to be audit proof, so to speak. So yeah, that is a concern. Heightened awareness, not to single people out, but if you're starting a business, typically you don't start with this huge inventory. I go back to my dad. He started with this little van. I tell y'all, I don't know how this van made it down the street, but you don't just start with this fleet of all this equipment. Where are you getting this money from?
Mm-hmm.
Because the goal of the program is to help small and disadvantaged businesses. The goal is to graduate. The goal is to have more gross receipts, so you no longer qualify for the program. I compare our program with Head Start. I was in the first Head Start class in East Baton Rouge Parish, and I will tell you the date, 1965. And the goal of Head Start is to give children and their parents a head start. So when the next generation comes, you do not qualify for the program. I have one child. She did not qualify for the program, and that's the goal. That is the goal. So DBE, that's the goal, to grow you so you become a prime. And we have several DBEs. And I looked at some of our reports. I was wondering, the project had a goal on it, but the credit wasn't showing up, but it was showing up on another end. Like, so I started questioning, well, what was going on? And my staff said, "Oh, Miss Roddy, it's because yes, they're a DBE, but they're the prime, and that's what we want. That's what we want. So
Thank
uh,
you.
I can just say we are definitely that's heightened on my radar.
Absolutely. And I will say this, when we were in preparation for this webinar, after listening to Ms. Paula just go through what changes she has made and implemented underneath her leadership, that's what sparked me to come up with the title for today. So DBE supportive services, restoring confidence, setting milestones, and changing behaviors to increase DBE goals. And I feel that she has stated today exactly how she's doing that and how she will continue to do that moving forward into 2021. And so we look forward to continuously providing additional resources, new webinar content, as well as additional support via SJB to DBEs, not only who have been DBEs for years, but even some of you all who are looking to become certified over the next few months. So I want to take the time to thank you all for joining us on this webinar. We will be sending out a survey just to get some feedback. We definitely want to ensure that we're providing just the quality of content and ensuring that everyone is benefiting from the information that we're sharing, but we also want to always continuously get better. And so we want to make sure that we're doing a good job. We will be bringing new content. We'll be going deeper, as Kenyatta stated, into trainings, right? So we have set the foundation. We've gone into various details of how you can reach out to us, how we can provide additional support. But in 2021, we'll be going even a step further on these webinars and specifically showing you examples, specifically showing you some of the trainings and how to actually become certified. And so we'd love to get your feedback. So be on the lookout for this survey coming out. If you have any questions, I've shared additional details and emails in the chat box. And I want to wish everyone a happy holidays. Any last word, Ms. Paula Kenyatta?
Just the only thing I want to say, and I don't always share this with Kenyatta, but Kenyatta, what SJB is doing and Urban League, I hear the feedback from the firms that you guys have helped, and they sing your praises. If you had money for the praises I have heard since I have been working with you guys, you would be on your own island with that nice little umbrella drink in your hand because you have helped people so much. They make it a point to circle back and tell me how much you have helped them and work with them. And
Well,
I
you know,
appreciate
I appreciate that, Miss Paula, but you know, obviously, man, like anybody would say, that's a team effort, though, because you know, with us, um, we're fortunate to have Miss Jackie that allows me just to run with everything. You know, I say this because just because her face is not visual as much, that's calculated, to be honest. That's She wants us to be able to run with it, feel confident for people to know that this is what we're here for. So but it goes to the team that we put together. You know, this is the first time they've had two consultants, but this is also the first time that they've allowed us to put together a team like this. And like I shared with you all when we was discussing how we wanted to do this, for me, you know, I felt confident in who we had with Miss Grace and Daryl, but having the addition of Savitra and Miss Megan is huge because we're able to have Savitri. She just takes, you know, we talked about our topics going into it, and I'm gonna be honest with you, all she do is send me the dates. You know, it's not, well, we got to sit down like let's do this, and like it's and then when Miss Megan, man, you know, when we have somebody that needs the assistance with marketing, you know, I obviously be the forefront getting information, but to be able to lean on someone, the two individuals as experts in that, it allows us to be able, for me to continue to do what I do, and that's just be proactive. You know, I think my ADHD is a great thing to have with this type of seat that I sit in because I'm always just trying to find things that's happening before it becomes even a concern. So when they call me, we can have the answer for them because a lot of times it's a listening ear and having an answer, and we have the resources in place to be able to do it. So I mean that, you know, I appreciate that, Ms. Paul. I really do, because obviously everyone wants to hear a good job, but I can't take all of it on my own. It's just the, you know, we surround ourselves with winners. I shared with you the other day, man. I stood on the table when I knew we can put this team together. I've worked hand in hand with Megan because she actually used to work for SJB Group, and Savitra and I actually the first time we met was when she first got certified. You know, she came in for one of our breakfast socials, and from there I just followed her story, and to see the things in which she's done with Solid Ground, but also it was Exempt Me Now, but then now you is Resilient. To
Mhm.
see the things that she's accomplished just here locally, and she's the national recognition she gets, that in itself just solidifies what we want to do for the program, and that's just to be effective as much as we can. And
Yes.
at the end of the day, when they win, you all win. That means we win.
Yes.
It ain't just about who's on here today, so we can say we turn in an attendance sheet. It's about us taking this further. So that's why I'm excited that Mr. Vitri mentioned that we're going to be sending out that survey. So then that give them an opportunity to really share with us what they want us to focus. We have our game plan, but we also want to make sure we part of that game plan is what they feel is a need for them. So I appreciate y'all. I appreciate you, Ms. Paul, also giving us not having us on that leash. You letting us run with it. We understand. We know the benchmark that you set for us as far as professionalism, and you've put it in place, and you've allowed us to run with that. So, man, we appreciate that also.
Absolutely.
What you got
Thank you.
for us, Mr. Vitri? I know you got
Yeah.
some closing words for us.
So I have given my closing words, but just want to reiterate that we will be sending out a survey. We will also send out the recording of this webinar along with some additional information that we discussed throughout the webinar. So you should be receiving that. We always have a large number of DBEs and those who are looking to become certified sign up. And so if you are missing anything, we're again only an email away. So feel free to continuously reach out to us, and we look forward to seeing you all back here in January. Hope you have a great evening, happy holidays, and see you soon. Bye,
Thank
everyone.
y'all so much for attending. We appreciate y'all.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
Same to you.